Welcome to the December the 16th, 1997 taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie. As we bring you the history of our city and some of the people that have been very important, not only in making the history of the past, but are continuing to make history today. This is our history tape number 322. And we are privileged today. We're very excited. We have a very special young man that has a lot of history to offer to us about Grand Prairie as he continues to raise his family here in Grand Prairie, Texas. And we're pleased to welcome Mr. Olin Massey. Olin, welcome to the set, young man.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. This is an honor for me. I didn't know I had become history just
yes,
yet.
Yes. You stay here long enough in Grand Prairie, Texas, and sooner or later you get to be history. Isn't that wonderful?
That's great.
We'd like for you to look out into your camera and give us the genealogy of the real Olin Massey. Tell us about your parents, and if you had brothers and sisters, we'd like to know you to name them, and if they're still alive and well, tell us where they are today.
Certainly. Once again, thank you for inviting me. I must admit I'm a little nervous being on your show, and I'm honored to just be close to you, because if some of your energy would wear off on me, then things would be perfect for my life. My mother and father both came from Ellis County. They met in the little Sardis church, Sardis community there, this side of Midlothian. My father was in grocery business from all of my earlier life and was in grocery business for 22 years.
And what was his full name?
His name was H.H. Massey Sr., Herschel Henry Massey Sr.
All right.
He married Irene Fleeman back in 1927, and I have a brother, Herschel, that is 6 years older than mine. He's H.H. Jr. He and I were on your program, and that was such a great experience for me. I just like to be around him. He's the historian. He remembers being in the back of that old grocery store that was right down where the Wings Theater used to be, and in the open spot now. The building, I guess, got so decrepit that the city tore it down, but there's an open spot in there now where the grocery store was. I can remember up until I was 5 years of age, or at least that, going out of that store and going down the street and visiting and I guess singing. My father was a singer. When they came to business in Grand Prairie, in grocery business, they were in grocery business for 22 years in Grand Prairie.
All right.
When they came here, this was a very small community.
Were you born in Grand Prairie?
I was born here. I was born here.
Was Herschel born here?
Herschel was born in Midlothian.
In Midlothian.
He was actually born in Midlothian, but that helps me, because I was wondering when they came to Grand Prairie. With him being less than a year old, they came to Grand Prairie in the grocery business.
Yes.
So 6 years older than I, and I was born in 1938, so that's when they were here. My father had one of the few permits to kill his own beef, and one of the few places you could buy beef during that period of time, especially during World War II. People, my brother would tell me that people would bring in lard, and they were making, I think they were making ammunitions and making gunpowder, and people would bring that in, the stores would collect them, and someone would pick them up. I remember very little about those days. I remember the Sanders Barber Shop that was on the corner, and they used to have one of these poles that was red and white.
Revolving.
I can remember at a very small age my brother looking out the back of the store and shooting a bird off of the line, and for some reason that I couldn't have been over 4 or 5 at that point, and it's strange what you remember. I can remember the big boxes. We had sawdust on the floor in the butcher market. They just floor the whole area back in there with sawdust. Those were unusual days and really good days. There were different days for this community. It was very small at that point.
Did you have any sisters?
I did not, just my older brother and myself.
All right. And being born in Grand Prairie, Texas, and did you ever have to do any chores and work in the store or do anything like that?
Well, I was too small. I'm sure that someone told me the other day, and they brought this. Can I show this just a moment?
Yes, let's show that.
Someone brought to me this the other day. She said she found it in their cupboard and had written a recipe on the back of it. If you can take a good picture of that, that's my father's store. At one point on there it says a quartet, a good one, and a loudspeaker, and they could come and be on the outside of the store and hear the quartet sing. At that point, of course, most people got paid on Friday, and everyone would come to town on Sunday. and come to town on Saturday, excuse me, not Sunday, and buy their groceries. Well, that's probably one of those brochures, if you have a chance to look at the prices on that.
Yes.
Did you look at them?
Yes, I couldn't believe that you could get onions for a nickel.
For a nickel. Well,
Yes.
and you had big cans of beans, and of course they would have a big sack, and you'd scoop the beans out of the sack.
Yes.
And the cream and butter would be churned and brought in by the
Yes.
farmers of this area here.
You bet.
Okay, they got a picture of that.
All right, they got a picture of that. Now, we need to talk about Olin Massey when he started to school.
My goodness gracious. I went to the
Did you go to Southside?
went to Austin Elementary School, and
All
still
right.
some of that school's there.
Yes, it is.
We were talking this last weekend, someone brought up Ms. Mason in our 4th grade. She had won for a Day. You remember that show?
Yes.
On TV?
Yes.
She had won Queen for the Day, and one of her wishes on Queen for the Day was to take her 4th grade class to downtown Dallas by train, and we'd have the opportunity going up in the tallest building in the entire area.
Yes.
That was the Mercantile Bank building, and if you look at downtown Dallas, you
And
realize...
4th grade got to do that?
4th grade got on the train, Miss Mason, and that was our choral group, and the 4th grade class. Went on the train to downtown Dallas and got to go up to the top of the Mercantile Bank building. We thought nothing could ever be taller than that building. Now it's probably one of the shortest buildings in
Yes.
downtown Dallas.
Do you have any other favorite teachers that you remember at Austin Elementary?
At Austin Elementary, no, that's too far back.
Or the principal?
I do remember Viola Sharp was my first song. She taught me songs, and a vocal coach. Viola has been deceased, I think, sometime. And
Yes.
she was. We used to go to the old Presbyterian church where I'd take my lessons, and occasionally we'd go to the basement of the old Methodist church. They used that
Yes.
basement there to take voice lessons. Other than that, I don't remember who the principal was.
All right.
Back in that day.
Did you go on then to a middle school?
We went to what we called junior high then,
Grand
and
Prairie
the junior
Junior
high
High?
had the 7th, 8th, and 9th grades back in that time.
Is the one on Grand Prairie Road, or was it the old red building?
It's the one on the old red building over here.
All right.
There.
On College
Well,
Street.
it was still the Golden Bears. It was still the Golden Bears at
All
that
right.
time.
All right.
And matter of fact, that's where we met Earl Tom Kill. It was his first year of teaching when I went into middle school or junior high school.
All right.
And Earl Tom was tremendous. It seemed like all the football team was in his choir.
Yes.
And because I had that opportunity of being on that team, well, we all joined the choir. I think the football coach wanted us to join the choir because choir was the period directly before we went out and suited up for football.
Oh, yes.
I don't know the reason for that, but I've thought that might have been the reason the coach encouraged all of us to be in there. But Earl Tom stayed with us all the way through our high school days.
All right, so then after middle school, then you went on over to Gopherland?
I went to Gopherland. Gopherland was the only land here at that point. Yes, I see the camera person out there saying this, but we were the only thing in town. As a matter of fact, we were larger than Irving back in that time, and larger than Arlington back in that time. This is the 50s, 53, 54, and 55, in the springtime of 56.
Yes.
Back in those times, Sleepy Pruitt was a football coach only 1 year, and
All right,
when
so
I was there. And then he left, I believe, in 53, 54. We had a great time at that school. I sang and I tried to play football.
What position did you play on the football team?
I was a guard on the 54 and 55 and 56 football team.
All right.
I think I weighed all of about 130 pounds. I was so small that probably they wouldn't even let me go out today.
Were you one of the ones that inaugurated the Gopher Bowl, the new Gopher Bowl
Yes
in
and no.
56, 57?
Yes and no. No, I actually was not. Our class graduated in 56.
All right.
But we missed the Gopher Bowl. It still came out and inaugurated in 56, but it was the next class.
The
Earl
next
Burleson
class.
and that group came in there.
Yes.
Charles England, our
Yes.
mayor, was his class.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually missed that. All we did was run up and down that hill that was where the Gopher Bowl is for exercise, as the coaches made us do.
Now let's go back to your favorite teachers, your favorite subject, other than Earl Tom Keel and who was our football coach then that took Sleepy's
Skinny
place?
Davis took the place, and some of the friends We went to his funeral here about 6 months ago. Skinny
Yes.
Davis was a tremendous gentleman. I would say that I think the coaches back in that day, and probably the young ladies could say other people, but the coaches to me meant more, influencing my life more than anything else back during that middle school. They had a lot of prestigiousness about them. They'd take the whole team to different churches each Sunday.
Yes.
I never heard a curse word at any time from a football coach. They were tremendous gentlemen and tremendous men, and they had a lot of influence on young men.
How
as I
about
said.
your singing career in high school?
Singing has always been a gift. As I say, my father's quartet, I used to listen to them practice
Let's
at a very early
let's
age.
show the picture of that quartet of your your dad.
This is the quartet. At one time, this quartet was offered $500 a week to go and appear on the Grand Ole Opry, and that was quite an honor. So they were good to be offered that. And of course, all of them had jobs here locally and could not go and could not do that.
But they really could sing.
They could sing indeed, and most of the people, I see a lot of people today that's on up in years that said they remember my father. My father was a true Irish tenor and my inspiration.
Yeah.
Singing was something because of him, I think I've always enjoyed. It's a gift. I've tried to develop it some, but it was truly a gift, and I understand that. In high school, I was lucky enough to be in the all-state chorus for a couple of years, 3 years as a matter of fact. And the last year of my high school, we had a golden anniversary chorus, and they selected singers from all the United States to go to St. Louis, and that was quite an honor.
Oh, yes.
I was lucky enough to receive the outstanding baritone. I don't remember being a baritone. I'm not even a baritone now, but the outstanding baritone in the state of Texas back then. And
Did Mr. Keel go with you to St. Louis?
Mr. Kill and I both went together. I had the measles on the way over there, and I didn't want to miss that trip, and I was broken out. I really didn't know what I had, but I remember staying on that. I'm sure we spread measles from Texas to all the 48 states, and I think that's what we had back at that time.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience, and one that I certainly cherished. After that point in '56, when I graduated, I was fortunate. In high school, this town was small.
Yeah.
Everybody was popular. Everybody was popular. And when you go to a college and you become a number,
That's it.
and where you have 13 or 14,000
That's a
kids,
letdown, isn't
it's
it?
quite a letdown on these seniors and that graduate and are very popular because they become a number. And I think that's what happened to me when I went to North Texas. I went to North Texas on a music scholarship. Music scholarship was not like an athletic scholarship. I wanted an athletic scholarship, but 135 pounds of me would not qualify for an athletic scholarship. Anyway, we went there on a music scholarship, and Paul Kruger was there and had an opportunity to visit with and to lift weights with Pat Boone. He was there then, and be on his show at Cabell's Milk. Sponsored his show, and we were singing on his show a number of times. But I realized when I went there that I wasn't, you think, I don't know whether you think yourself, but you become popular or whatever that word is. But when you go to college, you realize you're a number, and there's a lot of people who sing a whole lot better than you are, and they're there, and you're trying to get to their point. But the second year at North Texas, I did receive one of the only 5 full scholarships that the college gave. I think a lot of these schools invite kids and give them a scholarship to get them there that first year, and then they have to work for that scholarship the second year.
You bet.
But I did earn that scholarship, and I was very proud at the time. At that time, we were singing with the Dallas Civic Opera Company. I was a lot more classical voice then than I am now. A gentleman by the name of Franco Zeffirelli, who has won a number of Academy Awards for his movie production, and he was there directing Maria Callas and Tosca and Medea, and we had the privilege of singing in the chorus. Of course, we were not, understand that we were in the chorus, we were the small folks that we had, but it was a great experience. But I had an opportunity through that experience of meeting Franco Zeffirelli to go to Florence to study opera in Florence, Italy. I think the lifestyle back then, being born and reared here in Grand Prairie and close family, I've often wondered if I had taken that opportunity, what would have happened. I am, in some ways, knowing that my life would totally be different had I done that. I think I've always had the heart power of singing, but I don't know that I always had the head
Yes.
power. It takes both in classical music. But anyway, he invited me to come to Florence to stay in his villa and to study in La Scala, which would have been a great privilege.
Yes.
The young lady, there was another lady there from Juilliard, New York, wanted me to come up there. But I truly believe that that lifestyle would have been one that I wouldn't have fit into. Pavarotti said something that it really struck me between the eyes, that the gifts we have in life, we have to be extremely cautious of them, and they need to be protected. And the classical singer, they have to be regimented. Everything is timed, on schedule. And then there's another side of us. The gift is one side, and there's another side of us is just a good old boy, and he wants to go and do what he wants to go and do.
Yes.
And I think there's probably more of me in that than there was that gift. But I did not go, and after college, went from there to Baylor University, finished up there and started singing. I started singing gospel music.
You made several records.
Well, yes, I made several records. Actually, those records were something to help us go. They provided more income for us as we were on these fields. I usually traveled 32 to 48 weeks a year. Did that for almost 13 years. I don't look back at that at all, but it was a great experience for me. Met a lot of good people with their best suit forward, knowing that we all have two suits.
Yes.
That I led the music, led the choral group, led the congregational singing, and did the solo work for a lot of great men that were preaching.
That was
and I really enjoyed that.
All right. Now, how about Janet? We've got to get down to that. We got
in
lovely
1963,
All right.
I was leading the music at Westridge Baptist Church right here in Grand Prairie.
All right.
And a beautiful young lady was singing in the choir, a youth choir. I've always told this. She always likes for me to tell this. I met her in my youth choir. And she was singing in there, and we started dating, and we married about a year after that.
Yes.
She's been a great wife. We've been married now 34 years.
All right, and tell us about your family.
Well, I've got 3 children. I brought this just to show it.
Let's show and tell.
These are the twins. All 3 of our children have been such a joy for us. While we were traveling, we adopted these 2 while I was traveling. And then later on, I've got a 3rd one that's just brought me in my 2nd granddaughter.
Oh, great.
But these 2 were first 2 that we adopted, and they have been joys. As you know, my son at 28 died this last year.
Yes, you would give us their names.
With a heart attack. This is Kelly and Kathy, and they're showing Dad's record. Now that record was somebody bigger than you and I. I think that was my 3rd one.
Yes.
The only one that really was put out and produced quite a bit was the rocking chair hymn. There's about 40,000 of those somewhere in garage sales somewhere.
Yes.
And the only way I can get rid of these today is to give them away. So if you come by the funeral home, I'll give you one.
All right, you've told us Kelly and Kathy. You have another child.
And Jeff.
And
That's
Jeff.
my 3rd one.
Jeff.
Jeff. I have 3 grandchildren, Kathy and Michael. Michael, who's running our business up there right now. And Kathy married about 6 years ago, and I have a 4-year-old granddaughter.
Name her?
Her name is, I'm getting so excited. Don't ask me that. Let me go back through this thing. I've got Chelsea, that's 4 weeks old.
All right.
And I can't remember my other granddaughter's name. All of a sudden, I've gone blank. But I'm going to remember them before this is over with. I can't believe that happened. You may have to cut this out of there. Because when they hear I haven't remembered their names, I'm going to be in real trouble.
That's really acceptable. Now,
no, it's not.
you have a special place in a business here in Grand Prairie, Texas, that a lot of people count on you, especially during their sorrow time. So let's mention what you do for a living.
During the period of time I traveled, I began to pray, Lord, this has been great, but how am I going to raise these twins that you've given us and be on the road all the time? At one point, we tried to live and keep our family together in a 28-foot-long trailer. The trailers back then weren't as nice as the trailers are today, but we lived 1.5 years in that trailer. And I said, Lord, I've got to settle down. What can I do? And I analyzed that. There wasn't too many other things I knew how to do. But I had been working for the Moore Funeral Home since 1957. Anytime I was off the road over in Arlington, and they were here in Grand Prairie at that point, I worked for them. And the good Lord answered that prayer in 1965 with Duke Burge, who has since passed away in '93, yes. And Bruce Bean. We became associates, partners, and started Southland Funeral Home. It's now we're on 5th Street there. Yes. There's still a funeral home there. Yeah. We built in '69 the place on Southwest 3rd Street.
Yes.
And in '89 came to our present location on Dalworth Street. And by the way, that's directly across the street from where I was born. I was born on that corner, directly across the street where I was born on Dalworth Street. Seemed like we've been in, well, I have been in this business for 40 years. Yes. This year's the 40th one since '57. Haven't had a license all that time, but been involved in it. The years
Bean Massey Burge.
Bean Massey Burge, right?
Yes.
And we'll be here till the Lord calls us home, I guess.
And you get to sing at so many wonderful funerals.
Well,
and see, you get to use that talent that the Lord gave you for.
That's really, I would say that that's a privilege. It's not a joy. Yes. It's not a joy at all, but it is a privilege that people ask me. I've realized the other day, I said, here you are approaching 60. If somebody asks you to do something, you should be honored enough, just do it. But singing at the funerals is not a joy for me, and I have honest truth to tell you that it probably had more to do with me try to stop singing.
Yes.
Because it kind of, you sing for too many friends.
All right.
You bury too many friends.
Since Janet couldn't be here today, I'd like for you to give a little bit about her genealogy. Right. Tell about her mother and father.
She graduated from Grand Prairie High School over there in 1961. She came from Huntsville, Arkansas, where she was born. She just started wearing the shoes here lately. But no, she graduated in '61. We met in '63. She has an older brother, and her mother and father live on Northeast 37th, J.L. Bird. Her maiden name was B-Y-R-D, Bird.
And her brother's name?
Is Samuel Bird. And they live on Northeast 37th Street. Okay. All I can say is I've had some great in-laws. I think he has taught me more how to paint and how to work on automobiles and many things in my life that I owe him a tremendous credit for.
Oh, that's wonderful.
They've been very fine.
And she had only the one brother?
She had the one brother, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Now that we have her involved in all of this, does she work out of the home?
No, she has always been a homemaker.
That's
and
great.
Has done a good job of that. She's had the opportunity, like I said, I ran over the countryside and from Arkansas to Oklahoma to Virginia and California, and she raised this family.
You are the new president of the Grand Prairie High School Alumni Association as of January 1.
January 1, I'll have that opportunity for 2 years. It's a joy and a privilege to be the president of the Alumni Association. Grand Prairie High School is one of the few schools that has an alumni association, and it was established, as you well know, bless your heart. Without your involvement in that, I don't think we'd be anywhere like where we are today, both you and your daughter. But anyway, we started this program for fellowship and scholarship. We have given a $1,000 scholarship away for 7 years now.
Yes. And
we hope that scholarship one day will grow into at least a junior college scholarship. We may indeed be able to give away 2 $1,000 scholarships this next year. We are a 501c3 for anybody that's out there. That's you give to us and you can take it from your income tax, take it off from income tax. Again, thanks to this young lady over here to my left, we have that 501c3 category. Many people have helped us. We invite any of you out there to membership's $10 a year.
Oh, yes.
You'll get at least 2 newsletters telling what's going on with some of the members, what's going on at Grand Prairie High School, and we challenge South Grand Prairie out there to start the same thing. These kids need a lot of help financially to go to college, and they deserve it. The scholarships are getting fewer and far between and harder to come by. So we're excited about that. Next 2 years we hope to continue what Bonnie Cochran has done in the last 2 years.
Yes.
with being head of the association. We try to get as many people involved as we can.
Yes.
And they can join for $100, which is very little, a life membership. They won't have to ever pay their dues again. They can give us $500 if they'd like, and they'll be a patron member. and they can be a benefactor for $1,000 or more. And we have a number of those folks that have given that.
Yes.
I think we've even got some folks out there that have us in their will, and we're excited about that, except I better watch how to say that.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, we're not excited about that, but we're honored to have people to think about us in that way. I challenge any of the high schools around to start an alumni association to help our children.
Yes. All right. Grand Prairie, Texas, lifetime tenure here. What do you see about the city? Do you still like the city of Grand Prairie? You moved off for a while down toward Midlothian.
I was commuting from Midlothian to here for 18 years.
Yes.
As we lived. I lived here more than I did there, but
Yes.
I slept there occasionally. Grand Prairie home is not a place, it's people.
Yes.
I really believe that. And Grand Prairie is home to me because of the people. And I'm excited about the place, for that matter, at this point in our life.
I'm excited about your new house.
My new house.
Yes. Oh, that's great.
Well, we're excited about a lot of things. The Lord's been good to us. It's amazing how things can reverse in your lives. At 60 years of age, we've all had ups and downs.
Yes.
And we all have setbacks, but sometimes you have to step down to step up. And that's what happened to us in '89, as you well
Yes.
know, from Southland
Yes.
to Bean Massey Bird. That's another story. But I go back and emphasize that the kids need help. That scholarship fund is a great thing to have, and we need people to involve. I said that you give $1,000, you're.
Yes.
Yes, I said that. All right.
Yes.
We hope many of you will do that.
Yes, and you just keep on beating the drum for that, and you're going to be the strongest president we've ever
Well,
had
I
for
don't
the
know
Grand
about
Prix.
that. Bonnie's done a great job. She
yes.
has been well organized, and she kept the organization greased.
Yes.
And we feel like it's going to continue and snowball. As it snowballs, the trust fund, the money that we get on that $1,000 or $100 does not go into anyone's pocket. It goes directly in a trust fund, and that trust fund has interest, produces that interest. Wish it were higher interest than it is today,
Yes.
but there's where the scholarship money comes from. So that trust fund will continue to snowball and build that scholarship money.
We have 1 minute left on this interview. Can you, in 1 minute, wrap up and say how exciting it's been to have a wonderful voice, to have a lovely wife and family, and live in a great town?
Well, first of all, the voice was a gift. I've tried to use it, may have worn it out. My wife was a gift in some ways too. 34 years we've enjoyed one another, and I think I love her more today than I did 34 years ago. Our families, they're a hope for tomorrow, and with looking at them, there's a lot of hope. Our grandchildren, they're a gift again and a joy. So life moves on. We're glad to live in the community that we call home because of the people. And I think this city, as it's done some great things in the last 3 or 4 years, there's nothing to perceive about what will happen in the future. Great.
What is your magic telephone number for anyone that wants to take a cruise?
Oh, I didn't get to. Ernest Duncan and I are going on a cruise. We'd love to have you with us.
Give us that magic number quickly.
263-7200. 263-7200. Let's go to Alaska.
All right.
Okay.
It's been wonderful to have you on the show today. It's just a real delight and a pleasure, Olin Massey. You're a special young man. You have just done so much for Grand Prairie, Texas, and have brought many accolades to our city because of the gifts that you've used. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do.